Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show, where we take a look at how you approach your work and personal life and how we can make the most out of both of them. A weekly get-together where we get real about self-improvement and development as we all make this not-so-easy journey through life. Our discussions will cover ideas and concepts from how to grow your career to how to lead your family towards prosperity and happiness. We don't pretend to know it all, and the doctor is the first to be vulnerable, discussing his own weaknesses, both past and present. This is about growing together and having some fun while we discuss what is happening in the crazy world we live in and how to make the most of it. Let's strive for awesome together. Let's get after it. Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Dr. Leadership Podcast. Hope you're having an awesome day. Had an awesome week and barely made it out of Denver before the big storm hit. We had a big training session out there this week. And, you always got to be able to adjust your plans quickly. And big shout out to all the staff that was out there supporting it this week. We had to move people in hotels, change flights, get everybody out a day early. And as far as I know, everybody made it home safe. So hopefully you're safe as well. A cold front has come back in. This early spring has suddenly bounced back to winter. Hope you're safe. But welcome to the show. And again, I want to remind people, please come out and join us on the membership site. You can find us at www.drleadershipresults.com. Check on the subscription link. Go out there. It's $5 a month. Join in. Had a couple more members join up this week. Thank you very much. And you get early access to these episodes, and you also get access to the Leadership Lounge, where we are getting ready for a couple of big guests coming on, some internationally known authors. Got a couple lined up, just finishing that up. That's going to take a couple more weeks to get done, but some people that have been very successful in the business communities. Be sharing those to you shortly. So welcome. Hope you enjoyed last week's episode, which was on the inability to communicate and how that's leading to the downfall of society. And that's a really wow statement. That's pretty extreme. But if you go back and listen to that episode, I think I'm on to something there a little bit. And today I kind of want to go off more in the business direction. We've been talking about the life direction a lot as of lately. I want to focus it back into kind of a seller's life and a sales leader's life for today's episode. So I want to change it up a little bit and, like I said, go back to the seller's life and that leadership expectation and how to drive ongoing success in your sales career. And we're going to talk about prospecting. And prospecting, or more importantly, the lack of it, will lead to the downfall of your success in a selling or sales leadership career. So last week we talked about how communicating and not being able to do that is the downfall of our society. Listen to it. It's very, very crazy what's going on in my mind. And prospecting is that kind of impact on if you aren't doing it consistently and continuously. You're going to have problems in your selling career. Your business career. A business owner doesn't have to be selling. Let's say you're a service organization. You got to constantly be finding new customers, man. And if you don't succeed at that, you're going to struggle. You aren't going to be around a long time. You aren't going to stay in that job. You're going to think that something's wrong with the company or something's wrong with my product. No, man, you aren't going out and saying hello to enough people. So as I said, I was in Denver, Boulder, Colorado, actually, more precisely. And we just finished up the last of a 4-group, 1 week long each group training program for all the salespeople in my business group. Huge endeavor, very expensive endeavor. Thanks to all the people that helped pull it off, all the vendors that helped support it, etc. But we brought everybody together, and it was, first of all, outstanding to see everyone because many of us hadn't seen each other since, before COVID. Just you've seen some people over the last year and a half as we've come out of it, but you just haven't had time to see everybody again. A lot of the offices are no longer open, etc. So it was great to see everybody. And the feedback, thankfully, and I had a whole group of people that helped put this curriculum and such together, but it's been very, very positive. Now, each week, what I do, do these two things, and then I get the hell out of the way and let the smart people handle it. But I do the kickoff and the close each day during these training events. It's basically a 4-day endeavor. You fly in one day, we do a welcome dinner, have some fun, some beers with the boys and that kind of stuff. I don't drink any longer, but still enjoy the time with them. I have my iced tea or my water. And then the next 2 days, very, very heavy content, 12-hour days in the center. training and hands-on and letting the smart people share with us. And then, 3 nights and then fly home the 4th day. So great time. But I kick them off. And when I kicked them off and brought it back together at the end of each day, I really, in my mind, I had two main focus areas that I wanted to make sure I got. And the first was to inspire and motivate, right? Point out the importance of learning, lean into the equipment, lean into the curriculum. And the second thing I always kicked off the last day with a story. And it was a story on my first year as a salesperson. And I say the slap in the face of reality that my first boss and business owner gave me when I thought I really had it all figured out. Now, some of you have heard me speak of this before, this story, but it's an important story in a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of different angles that I then made an important focus on in my career after this story. It was that impactful to me. If I wanted to be good at this thing called selling and then move into leadership and be good at that, I knew that this was the slap in the face I needed. And many of you have heard me speak of this before, but you're going to have to hear it again here for a quick second. So the basics of the story are this. I came in, had a very, very good first full year. I came in mid-year, the first year I was in the business, and I was selling copiers door to door, fax machines, etc. Talk about the portfolio here in a minute. But I came in, did the first 4 or 5 months, got my feet underneath me, kind of finding my territory, started making tons and tons and tons and tons of sales calls. And I was fortunate enough to be the rep of the year. Now, at that time, you would go in and give your business plan presentations to your sales manager, business owner, whatever, on these wonderful things called transparencies on a overhead projector. Now, when I went to school, overhead projectors were everywhere. That's what teachers used to share. We didn't have projectors. We had a chalkboard. We had a reel-to-reel movie player. I can still as you get the movie tape started in the projector, and we had overhead projectors. So I come walking in, man, I'm strutting in. I got my best suit on. I'm meeting with the business owner. I've just been rep of the year on revenue. Not the best rep. I produced the most revenue. I want to make two clearly distinct things from there. I had not had near enough time. It takes years to be, quote unquote, the best salesperson or the best leader. And best is a measurement of those closest around you. There's no GOAT, greatest of all time, when I say those things. But I went in, dropped my transparency down, and my first statement was I closed 85% of the business I was in on the year before. And I was waiting for the accolades. I mean, where's the standing ovation? You can bring the rest of the crew in here, boss, if you want to, and you can all clap at the same time. That's what I felt as a 24-year-old kid coming in saying this. And he leaned back and he shocked my system and he said, I had no idea I needed to find your replacement. True story. Now, I go, what? And he goes, listen, you closed 85% of the business. Nobody's that good. Not even me, son. I remember it like it was yesterday. And what he meant by that is then he started asking some questions. Do you think the Xerox rep had a good year? How about the Minolta rep? How about the Canon rep? Just starts going through the list, right? I know the Xerox rep, he's got a really nice house. So what the deal was, and what he was trying to point out to me, is that it's great you closed 85% of the business, but he didn't want my close ratio ever over 30, 35%, but be in more deals. He said this, you don't have to drive every deal in your career, but you at least gotta get your ass in the car. And what he meant by that is go out and get engaged in more things, more opportunities. Stuff is happening in your territory, and I said this in the trainings. Today, right now, and I'll just use HP as the example. HP is installing a software solution in your territory worth hundreds of thousands of dollars that you don't even know about. That rep's going on trip. That rep's probably going on another trip with their significant other at the Ritz-Carlton because software deals pay huge. The net of this is that my lesson early in life is that I'm going to have to prospect, and I got to find more things to lose to progress my career. And that sounds crazy, but you got to get your ass in the car. The car is represented by deals. You got to get in the deals to win them. If you're going to grow, you got to be in more deals. So prospecting is to get my ass in the car was the message. And that's the message I wanted to share with all the salespeople out there today. Now, prospecting was far easier back then. Remember I said the portfolio I'd talk about in a minute. I had 3 products. I had copiers. Now I had 5 different or 6 different models. Do you want one that's 15 pages a minute, 30 pages a minute, 50 pages a minute? Do you want it to staple, etc.? But I had copiers, I had fax machines, and I had postage machines. Now, the easy thing about my business back then is that everyone needed all 3 typically, and all 3 products typically had the same decision maker or influencer in each company. It was the office manager. He or she would be the person responsible for when the copier came up to handle it. Now, there might be a mail room, but that office manager or lead administrator was the keeper of those purse strings typically on those things. So I only needed to call in and typically ask for one person. Today, it's not what it is. Very diverse, especially the portfolio that my people take. Now, if my portfolio is vast, right? So if your portfolio is vast and has different decision makers in the organization you're trying to call on, and your prospecting skills need to adapt, the first thing we all have to do is actually do the prospecting. Got to make yourself uncomfortable sometimes. This is where my title comes from, right? Hero to Zero, I'm calling this episode. It's called, hold on, I lost my sheet of paper here. Hero to Zero, the cost of procrastination toward prospecting. If you don't prospect, you may have a good month, but you're going to struggle the next month, right? So hero to zero is what you're trying to avoid. I have seen this literally hundreds of times where a rep has a killer quarter or a year due to one or several, let's give them benefit of the doubt, several big deals. They killed it this year, Susie. You absolutely annihilate it. Then they do the worst thing possible. While flying high, they stop prospecting or working on new business development. For many, it's their least favorite point, least favorite part of the job. But it is literally the most important part of the job. Especially if you're on a hot streak, man. Human nature is to focus on the, staying focused on the, driving that big install and then focusing on the big paycheck you're going to get. But doom is on the horizon if you aren't diligently and always working on having several more opportunities coming into your hopper, into the funnel. Use whatever sales analogy you want here. You have to drive continuous engagement. Number 1 this month because of the big deal, and a loser next, since you aren't building consistency. You go from hero, top rep of the quarter, to the next quarter, you're like standing back there going, man, I didn't get a commission check for the last 2 months, and I don't have any revenue foreseeable for another 60 months. It's because you weren't prospecting when you were hot. You got to prospect when you're hot, man. First of all, you're going to get better. You're going to give a better mojo off. You're going to be seen as far more, confident, and you're going to be read as somebody by the people you're calling on as somebody that's got their game together. When things are going really well, it's critical that you dedicate adequate time for prospecting. Phone calls, cold or warm calls, asking for references from your best customers, reading the news around your community and finding out what company's moving, what company's bought another company, etc. All the things that affect your territory you need to be aware of. This is a must-have. There's a great book out by a guy named Mike Weinberg, and it's called New Sales Simplified. It's all about prospecting, new business development, and he nails it. It's simple ideas. Again, check this book out. My wife actually turned me on to this book. She's taken it in. She's having her first big sales meeting coming up here, and it's going to be a focus area for her too. Doesn't matter. She's in insurance. I'm in office and communication technology. Same thing. Business owner that has a lawn and landscaping business. You better be dropping cards off at houses around where you already have a customer, introducing yourself. Doesn't matter what you do. And Mike Weinberg, he nails it here. Simple ideas and approaches. This isn't hard, folks. It just needs to be a regimented step in your daily routine. He talks about a number of things. One of the first things that kind of resonated with me was control your calendar and schedule time. If something isn't on my calendar, it is likely to be procrastinated on, missed, forgotten, whatever might be the case. I'm human in this too. I've made all these mistakes myself. I learned the valuable lesson early on in my career, still haven't done enough prospecting in my life. That's how critical it is. I don't have this figured out either. But it is the number one thing. So first, control your calendar. Schedule it. Make sure you always have it on there. The other thing that is critically important that resonated with me from the book was you got to create your story, man. You got to perfect your story. Why you and why your company? You have to be persuasive here. So work on this part of your game diligently. They used to call it like an elevator speech or a veto letter. A veto letter was you're sending an introductory. We used to send letters because when I started, you didn't have email. Imagine prospecting without email. Imagine prospecting without social media. Imagine prospecting without LinkedIn. It's called a phone, and it's called shoe leather, we used to refer to it. Go knock on some doors. Go in and see some people, right? Some people are perpetual current customer visitors. Some people are just so comfortable with that. They're so uncomfortable prospecting. All they do is we call them professional visitors. They go out and, hi, Mr. Smith, good to see you again. Is that, is that copier still working okay? Yeah, everything's okay since last week too, Jimmy. Thank you. Current customer focused people are farmers. They're important. But our job as salespeople and as sales leaders of sales teams is nothing more than continually finding and gaining new customers. That is our job for the company. That is our job for our home, for our loved ones. That's all we're responsible for. I was 100% commission when I was a salesperson. If I didn't sell something, we didn't get groceries. If I didn't sell something, we didn't get diapers for the babies. You have to take kind of that significant hell or high water approach to this thing, right? You have to gain new customers continuously, period. It's the end of the sentence. Say it again with me. Your job is new business development and gaining new customers. That starts with prospecting. So this training program I just led was focused on another item that the author brings up, and maybe you've stopped learning and growing. I don't know. But that was why I was really focused in on these people. I have very tenured salespeople. Some might say old. We do have some people that are retirement age. My youngest are, in their 30s probably, upper 30s. And it can be very easy to think you got it figured out. We're very regimented. We're stuck in our processes and how we like to do things. It's been successful for me in the past. Well, if you aren't prospecting, that success is going to drop away. Maybe you've stopped learning and growing. I don't know why you would, but if you do, this monotony will kill your passion. You got to always be learning. Then as you prospect, you share this growth with the prospects, and you build value and curiosity and trust. More deals will follow, I promise you, man. Embrace what you hate here. Hone your skills, own your territory. Now, farmers are valuable. You got to be a little bit of a farmer too, because you don't want to gain a customer and then not follow up and then not be able to keep that customer. But farmers, really, that's more of a customer support role. We need hunting in our lives. If you want to be a successful salesperson that continuously grows income, continuously enjoys the finer things in life, and moves towards a retirement that is comfortable with the living and the lifestyle that you want, you got to constantly be doing this, man. Get good at the phone and email, right? Goodness gracious. Get really good at your message and story, based on your experiences of what's worked and what hasn't. If you try something from a prospecting step and it doesn't work, maybe that isn't a good step. I did crazy things like this. If there was a company that would not call me back, I've dropped off cards 3 times. This owner or this office manager will not call me back. I went out and I bought a bunch. Well, not a bunch. My wife did this years later and she bought a bunch. I went to the DAV and I bought a beat up pair of wingtip shoes. Wingtip shoes are nice dress shoes for men. Not worn very often any longer. I love them. But nice pair of old dress shoes. And I put it in a box, and I wrapped that box up, taped it up, put the gentleman's name I was trying to reach on it, and inside was a note. And I said, to Mr. Smith, here's the address from, I left blank. And inside I put a note inside the shoe. And all it said was, I'm just simply trying to get my foot in the door because I think I can help you. Guess what? That strange little approach, that different little approach got me a phone call. And I ended up selling that individual a bunch of stuff. So be creative in it, but you got to get good at your story. You got to be consistent in always driving value with everything you communicate them with. Get good at the phone. Get good at the emails. Then the next step that's important is you got to select good targets for what your products and services have advantages in. If you're selling something that has no value to a specific type of organization, I wouldn't focus on that organization. Where are your products and services most advantageous? And then focus on who needs those most. It improves the likelihood of success. It improves the likelihood that the problem you've solved for someone else is a problem they're facing as well. You'll be able to come in with stories, and conversations can be derived around what you've done for others to fix the same problem. Creates value, creates trust, creates legitimacy. References, references, references. So the next thing I want to talk about. Ask your best customers that you have farmed and you have developed a personal relationship with and you exchange Christmas cards with. You know their birthday. Have you asked them, hey, do you know anybody in any of the companies around here that you'd be willing to reference me to for some of my services? I've got a vast portfolio. I may not handle exactly or sell them exactly what I sold you, but do you have any friends in influential positions or ownership positions that you'd be willing to send an email on my behalf for? Or two? References, references, references. It's an easy way to get a foot in the door ahead of the competition. The trust is given by someone else. People naturally, if you haven't figured this out, don't really trust salespeople right away. They're worried that you're trying to take something from them called their money. And they feel that you may not be there next year. They haven't seen consistency of the people calling on them. There's all sorts of mental blocks that are going on. But if you can use references, you can skip a lot of those blocked places that these people put on you for talking to them or letting you come in and talk to them. Life of a salesperson is not hard. Life of a sales leader is not hard. There are stresses, but overall, it's about the following. Touched on these. This isn't all of it. But if you were to really boil it down to the bones, what are the things that you need to focus on to be a good salesperson? Develop your story. Get really, really good at telling the attributes that are the differentiators. What's your value add? Why? And then share that story. That's the prospecting part, right? Go see people. Then you got to excite people with your story. Be invigorated. Be passionate. Be confident. Don't be cocky. Thin line between cockiness and self-confidence. Don't straddle it even. But tell that story and be excited about it. Keep your word and follow up on commitments no matter what. Deliver the news, good or bad. Show people that you are there for them through thick and thin. If you do those first few things, then you're going to close the deal. 6, 7 times out of 10 probably. Then once the deal's done, you've developed that relationship, you've developed trust, you go back to that reference part. Ask them for references. Then you go on to the next deal. You pick up the phone, you engage that person. Hey, after the reference has been given, I believe that Sue Smith gave you an email just about how I've helped their organization. I'd like to come in and talk to you. Just get to know your organization. There may not be anything I can help you with, but I'd certainly like to come in and see if there is something I could help you be more successful by providing to you. Would you have some time next week on Tuesday or Thursday? Which is best for you? That's not hard. Now it can be uncomfortable at first. You have to be really, really comfortable with no's in this world, with rejection in this world. And here's an easy trick. So if every time you sell something you make $5,000, it's just an arbitrary number, maybe that blows people's minds away because that's high. I have reps that on certain transactions make six figures on some things, so we'll just use it as a starting point. Let's say that every time you sell something you make $5,000. Well, if it takes you 10 no's to get to that yes, then what you have is every no is worth $500 to you. And when that person tells you no, because 10 no's times $500 a no equals that yes, which gets you $5,000. Your mindset needs to be thanks for the $500 when someone tells you they're not interested, because the law of averages are working for you now. You're now 1 out of the next 9 is going to say yes, and then the next person says no, thanks for the $500. Now it's 1 out of 8. Thanks for the $500. 1 out of 7. 1 out of 6. 1 out of 5. Boom, caught one early. Your averages are better because your story's gotten better, because your excitement level's higher. But just change your mindset. Don't let the no's get you down, man. That's one step closer to the hero. One step further away from the zero. So you ask for those references, you go on to the next, you pick up the phone, get in the field. The fun is out there. Be excited, have fun. The other most important, there's about 10 most importants in this conversation, continuously learn and grow. The industry and the business world around you is accelerating. It's not just changing, it's accelerating in change. You got to go where the puck's going to be. You got to skate where the puck's going to be. Gretzky line. Some of you may know it, some of you may not know it. Wayne Gretzky, if not the greatest hockey player ever, top 2 or 3, doesn't matter who you ask, which team, etc. But he had a famous statement. How are you so successful? I don't skate where the puck is. I skate where the puck's going to be. Think of your kids playing soccer when they first do it. You got 10 kids all around one ball, legs just a-flying, and the thing, it's just like the mob moves 4 or 5 feet each direction. That isn't good offense. Wayne Gretzky knew good offense was go skating out in front of the other people, let your co-partner or your other players on your team shoot that puck out in front of you. You're beating everybody else to it. Now it's one-on-one against you and the goalie. The goalie is the deals in life. Go out there and skate where the puck's going to be. I'll tell you where the puck's always going to be in sales is in the field. And you can be in the field by virtual meetings. You can be in the field by Teams calls. You can be in the field by Zoom calls. But there's nothing better than face-to-face, belly-to-belly, because you don't lose things in context. So get in the field. Have that fun. Be excited. Continuously learn. Be consistent and persistent. This is not something that you just get to turn on and off. It has to constantly be on. In your social circles, pay attention to what's being discussed and who people are. Now, some people are uncomfortable. Oh, I don't want to bring it up at a dinner party business. It's okay. Don't make it the first thing. Get to know them and say, hey, I'd love to go to lunch with you sometime. Just slowly start a relationship. You don't have to come across as the proverbial used car salesperson. I know some really good used car salespeople, so I'm not trying to use that in any manner other than the old thoughts on that around the sales world. There's some used car salespeople making bank because they use references, they resell, return customers, and they prospect. Folks, if you want to be successful in this world, it ain't hard. It's just consistent that you have to be. And then what ends up happening is as you continuously improve and as you continuously grow, the prospecting becomes second nature to you. You're constantly doing it and you don't even realize you're doing it. It's just about building relationships. It's about being uncomfortable at times, but you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You got to be able to handle no's. As you do this, the skills get sharper and sharper. Your close ratios improve. But man, you don't have to drive the deal. You just got to have your ass in the car. And if you get your ass in the car, things are going to be awesome. You're awesome. Talk next week.